What is going on, everybody? Hey, this is your boy JC from JC Sports Talk. And of course, I have with me a special guest on this show to talk about basically the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know much about that team, but why not bring an expert, a guy that covers the Cardinals day in, day out, that bleed black and red, another fellow bird to the show. What is going on, Bo?
What's up, JC? I'm ready to break this game down. It should be an exciting one. I'm hoping the Cards offense shows up and gives your Eagles at least a little bit run up for their money with that undefeated record coming to town. Just makes them prove themselves a little bit here in week 5.
Come on, man. Hey, I want you to come on here and say, hell yeah, we about to beat the Eagles, man. We are about to get this dub. We about
Right.
to set our season on another trajectory, especially with, D-Hop coming back. I want to hear that. I don't want to hear, please, Cardinals, please make this a game.
Right?
Well,
I mean,
all right.
that would be like a bleeding heart fan, right? But also, my mind tells me different. Like, I've seen this team coming out of the gates 4 consecutive weeks just dead, especially on the offensive side of the football. Like, and they've been saying, hey, we got to get off to a fast start. We got to get off to a fast start. Haven't seen it. So, like, until they prove me wrong, I know that they're capable of it. Anytime you've got K1 as your quarterback and Kyler Murray, you got a chance. It's just he and that offense need to kind of show up. That's their calling card. At least it should be. And if they do, yeah, this could be this could be an eye-opening game for Philly. But until that happens, I'm skeptical. Call me a skeptical guy on that.
Absolutely, and I agree. So before we get all into the weeds and stuff like that, hey, the injury report came out. This is the latest injury report I have for the for the Cardinals. Is there anything that popped out? Is there any person, a player that's on there that's going to possibly come off by Sunday's kickoff?
I mean, the biggest one, the doubtful, is Rodney Hudson. He's just not going to play. That's your starting center. And when you got a big old mammoth of a human and Jordan Davis and a future Hall of Famer and Fletcher Cox, they're going to be very disruptive on the interior of that defense. It's a bummer that they don't have their starting center. So that's the glaring part there. Max Garcia, he's out. He's their backup guard. So thin as far as the interior of that offensive line. The guys that are questionable, maybe Trayvon Mullen is the only guy that might not be able to go, but everybody else I expect to play. DJ Humphries has been steady at the tackle position.
Okay.
Rondell Moore, trying to reincorporate him into the offense. Guy that's not on this list that I'm shocked isn't on the injury list. He had a knee bruise. AJ Green, future Hall of Famer, 34 years old, maybe a little long in the tooth, sure, but can still make plays. He's been a little rusty to start the season, but had 800 yards last year for the Cardinals, 3 touchdowns. Kind of diversifies this wide receiver core. A lot of short guys. AJ is a big guy, 6'4", can win some one-on-ones. Does a guy like James Bradbury follow him in coverage just to get him off of some other players? Just as a decoy would be helpful for the Cardinals this week.
Yeah, absolutely. AJ Green to me, you can never go off of age these days because I think when he was with the Bengals that their quarterback situation wasn't all there. And then they went out, and got, of course, Chase, and boom, hey, that's all she wrote. But
Yep.
as far as for the Philadelphia Eagles, as far as injury-wise, as you can see, Jake Elliott, he's probably not going to play because he's dealing with the ankle. So we did sign a kicker, Cameron Dickers, a couple days ago. Most likely he will be our starting kicker for Sunday's game. Avante Maddox, another big blow for the Philadelphia Eagles. But we did have an opportunity this past Sunday going up against good slot receiver and Christian Kirk, and was able to, contain him a little bit. So besides those two, Amadiata, that's another big loss. But I think that the Philadelphia Eagles could escape this game without him playing because we do have some depth at that left tackle. Andre Dillard, he's coming off short-term IR, but he's probably not going to play. But Driscoll did a pretty good job filling in for him this past Sunday. But Big Play Slay, he's back, so we definitely gonna need him this upcoming Sunday. I don't know how that matchup is gonna go. If you're the coach, would you have Big Play Slay follow Hollywood Brown or somebody else?
Yeah, I think Hollywood is the guy, no doubt about it. And the Cardinals have done a good job in moving him around and getting him off of, or the opposing defense's top defender off of Hollywood Brown. And then when they get that matchup that they want, that's when they hit Hollywood for decent sized plays. And he's been a real bright side, just like AJ Brown on your guys' side of the
Yeah.
things. A big acquisition, draft day acquisition, and has been everything as advertised. And him kind of getting back with his college quarterback and Kyler Murray has been huge for this offense, which is, as I said earlier, it's just not been what they wanted out of the gates. And he's been one of the lone bright spots. But if they can get the matchups they want, I don't think that they're gonna, target Slay. They're gonna try to go away from Slay in this, and maybe that benefits a guy like Bradbury, who's obviously big pick last week. It's good depth there, even with Maddox potentially not playing for the Eagles. Obviously, some decent depth in the secondary, but the Cardinals, they want to be deep at wide receiver and really get their playmakers, to run all over these guys. And if it's not Hollywood Brown, it's AJ Green, it's Rondell Moore, it's Greg Dortch, a little known guy who emerged in training camp and really was holding down, kind of carrying the load as some of these guys got healthier. So it's going to be, but the key is execution on offense. Regardless, like Kyler's going to have to hit the open guys and they're going to have to make the plays. And we haven't seen that through 4 weeks, but if it happens, yeah, look out.
So as far as the offensive side goes, I mean, look, I know that the Cardinals are road warriors. I mean, they can't lose on the road. If every game was on the road, y'all might go undefeated. But so far, y'all are 0-2 at home, and slow starts keep happening over and over again. I mean, what is it the play calling that's different at home compared to on the road? Is it the pressure of not having the crowd there and just boom every little mistake that you make? I mean, what is it? Because usually home field advantage is supposed to be an advantage for the home team. You're not supposed to lose at home.
I mean, it's crazy. Some of it just happens to be, a lot of luck involved. Some of it's just a coincidence. Some of it's just not executing as well. Maybe they're focused. Maybe they've got that business mentality on the road and they need it at home.
Yeah.
But it's really like they've been a very flawed team, more flawed team at home. And I don't know what that is. It's not a good identity to have. Obviously, you want to play well in front of your fans. And when you've got that environment that wants to see you succeed and is loud when the opposing offense is on the field, and it hasn't been, the fans' fault. It's this team. And there hasn't been a whole lot to cheer about. It's almost been a calendar year since their last home win. So that trend is something that they've been talking about, answering questions about ad nauseum. And I don't think anybody has a true solid answer of what's gone wrong because so many things have gone into this losing streak at home.
Wow. So, hey, maybe things might change this Sunday because the Philadelphia Eagle fans are coming down there. Maybe it might sound like an away game for the Cardinals. They might feed off of that. Maybe they could start a little bit faster because if they start off slow, the Philadelphia Eagles are one of those teams that, like, the first 2 series, they might not score. Next thing you know, they put up 24-29 on you just like that. Third, fourth series, they just get better as the game go on. The second half, it's a little bit, a problem because the only time we scored a point in the second half, besides the first game, was this past game, and we needed it, trying to make this little comeback that we did. So if the Cardinals fall behind like 14 points, so talk to me about this offense. Like, what kind of offense do they usually run? A lot of RPOs, a lot of traditional, like a tight end set.
Yeah, I mean, they like to vary it. It's a version of the air raid a little bit. They do mix in some RPOs. They've got some options in there that you'll sometimes see, and some quick hitters. A lot of quick hitters to their wide receiver screens. They'll screen you to death. It really irks the fan base here when they see some wide receiver screens that get blown up. But look, that's part of the game in the modern offense is this day and age. But where this offense really starts to find its rhythm, JC, is when that quarterback is locked in and Kyler's hitting the receivers. He's gets in rhythm, right? And it's almost like you have to get back against the wall a little bit before he comes alive, and that's a little bit of an issue because you don't want to come from behind football.
Absolutely.
It's not good for fans' health. It's not good for success, right? And so there's a lot of frustration there. Not with Kyler and there's frustration with the play calling, and there's that this team needs to be at a deficit before they really kind of wake up. So they've been trailing all season long. They've been outscored in the first quarter 31-0, and they've really only played 3 quarters of 16 that are that are acceptable. So they really need. There's so many trends that the Arizona Cardinals need to change this game in order to kind of competitive with Philly, because Philly, if you come out slow, like offensively or defensively, this game could get out of hand quick, and they're capable of so much more. I think that's why a lot of people are real frustrated with this team.
Yeah,
But hey, we're seeing it across the league, JC. Like you thought by week
absolutely.
5, like Russ Wilson and that Denver Broncos offense would be in a lot better shape, and they're a
Ah,
mess, man. Right? So I mean, the good thing is Kyler Murray's contract looks a little bit better than Russ's, 10 years younger, and I think that he's gonna be fine. But at some point, like you can talk about it all you want about
yeah,
executing and starting off fast and finding your strides on offense successfully, but you got to do it at some point. You're not going to be able to just talk it into existence. You got to do it, and I think it might not be this week, but it is going to happen. And if they can kind of hold their head above water between now and week 7, that's when DeAndre Hopkins comes back.
yeah,
They're going to be
yeah.
in really, really good shape.
So talk to me about your quarterback, Kyler Murray. He had 2 years left on his contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this offseason, he kind of made a big stink about wanting a new contract or he won't play another down, whatever it was. I mean,
Right.
do you think it was because he felt that the organization did not have enough faith in him, or is it because of back-to-back years of getting injured? And, in this league, you don't know, when it could be your last hit, whatever it was. So why do you think 2 years before his contract was up that he really wanted this extension?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just wanted to get the respect that his I guess his predecessors, his peers at the position have gotten. Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz before he signed that deal going into his
Yeah.
4th season, and that just kind of
Mhm.
seems to be the pattern with first round pick quarterbacks is you play well enough and you play at the level that Kyler Murray played. Okay, it's time to negotiate a new deal. Make me feel comfortable for my future and pay me like a franchise caliber quarterback because you've been able to kind of utilize my rookie deal, much like Philly's doing now with Jalen Hurts'
Yes.
contract and being able to go spend elsewhere on the roster. And now Kyler's like, okay, I proved I've been to 2 Pro Bowls. I was the offensive rookie of the year. I'm putting up. If he scores 3 total touchdowns, rushing and passing
Mhm.
on Sunday, he's got 100 total touchdowns in his
Wow.
young career. I mean, only a few guys like Mahomes, Allen, Andrew Luck, Dan Marino are in that kind of company. So Kyler had a lot to kind of show, hey, if there is no Cardinals without Kyler Murray. So pay me now and let's do this. I think his agent, JC, played a big part in
Mhm.
it, kind of being as ugly as it was in the public eye because, you
Yeah,
had
it was.
you you had the Instagram, right? You had like the statements
Hey,
representation. And
that's
I
the way
think
to
they
go
wanted
now. Delete the Instagram,
right.
right? That's the way to go.
Right, right. So these Gen Z quarterbacks and players, it's a little different than your old traditional like do it the right way. And like I think they wanted to get it done before anybody else had done it. They wanted to kind of be like, yeah, we got Kyler that deal before anybody else got their deal, but never worked out. And he got it kind of right around the other guys' timelines, just like Allen and Mahomes and those guys. So at the end of the day, he wasn't going to go anywhere. Cliff Kingsbury's not the head coach if Kyler Murray's not the quarterback. The general manager,
Yeah.
Steve Keim, he's not the GM any longer if that relationship goes any further south. So they all hitched their wagon to the K1 train, and they knew what the only way to right the ship was get him the bag, and they did.
So, are you concerned at all about his injury history the past couple of years? The Cardinals look, they will go as far as Kyler Murray take them. We saw it the past couple of years where they start off hot a little bit, and then once he start getting banged up, the Cardinals team are supposed to be different. So, are you concerned at all about his size and his injury history to sign him to this big max 5-year deal?
Yeah, I mean the injuries so far have just been like nagging injuries, right? Like a shoulder
Mhm.
here, like an
Yeah.
ankle. Nothing like serious, right? He hasn't had a bad knee. He hasn't had arm issues or anything like that. So is let's just call him a non-traditionally sized quarterback, right? He's not a big dude.
His
He's not
helmet is
6'3".
like this. His
Right. Yeah,
helmet
yeah.
look like
It's the thing
a bobblehead.
right, right. So, to put it nicely like I did, like you always are scared he's going to get squared up and that could be,
Yeah,
the final thing, but he's a pretty sturdy guy and he's an athlete, man. I mean,
yeah, he
he's the
is.
only guy ever to be drafted in the top 10 in both baseball and
Mm-hmm.
NFL number one overall. Like I don't have any major concerns, but the this game. I mean, it can get
Yeah,
anybody, but I don't
absolutely.
think Kyler's any different. I really don't. I mean, you can't unsee the when somebody says he looks like a toddler that stole his parents' phone and that's how he runs. Like funny.
He's like,
It, yeah, I
he's
get it.
quick.
Like,
He's so
exactly.
quick.
But he's also I think and if he can play 17 or close to 17 games a season, this team's always got a chance. So like
Absolutely.
longevity and injury concerns, I know that they've been there, but I don't think any more so than any other NFL team has to deal with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Zach Ertz, the Eagles, like arguably the best tight end in Eagles history. He left the Philadelphia Eagles. He got traded to the Cardinals. Hate to see him go, but I'm glad he went to a good team. I did not want to see him go to the Jets or the Lions or, where careers go and die sometimes.
Right.
But I'm so glad that he did go to a good team, a good quarterback. I mean, how big of a addition it was to add Zach Ertz last year?
I think with the start that they had last year and where they had kind of a void at tight end, that it was a move at that time that was this team was going to go for it, right? And then you got
Yeah.
a couple of Hopkins injuries and stuff, and then it became a necessity. Like you needed Zach Ertz in order to run your offense because you were short on playmakers, and he's just kind of been a steady part of this offense, a reliable guy, good hands, moving the chains. I think he's developing. They're finding when I say develop, I think it's more on Kyler's part more so than Ertz because we know he's a beast in the red zone sometimes. He scored last week. I think they could utilize him even more in that area.
Yeah.
But he's not the same guy, obviously, that was a perennial Pro Bowler and not the guy that made the biggest play, arguably, in the history of the Eagles franchise. But
Yeah.
he's still a solid guy on and off the field. And like you mentioned, I think it was either Philly or it was here where his wife's from in Arizona. And he's endeared himself to this community. He continues to be a big part of the Philly community. And he's an easy guy to root for, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we definitely are not going to boo Zach Ertz. I think we boo in week 3 enough for Carson Wentz that we didn't boo Doug Peterson last week when he came to Philly, and we sure not going to boo Zach Ertz at Arizona because he is an Eagle legend. Like I said, it wasn't his fault. I mean, that he could not retire as an Eagle. It's a business, You got to take care of
Right.
yourself and your family. So, but definitely, I was kind of like, as soon as he got to the Cardinals, he played a Thursday night game at home. I saw him play against Tom Brady. And then a few hours later, he was catching his longest reception in his career for a touchdown. I was like, what the heck was this? Kyler Murray threw him a pass. I think it was like 56 yards, which was his longest a
66
reception.
yards.
I
Yep.
was like, what the heck was? I'm like, oh no, Phil, you did it to me again. You got rid of him too soon,
Right.
But we had Dallas Goddard,
Right.
so
And Dallas Carter is a big play machine. My God, the guy is really emerging this season and
absolutely.
complementing those receivers that you have. It was just it was a good kind of amicable divorce, right? Both sides are happy now, and good for Philly, who's thriving. Obviously, the last undefeated team. Their offense isn't missing. He's
Mm-hmm.
not the missing piece. It'd be nice to have, I'm
Absolutely.
sure, but like he's got a bigger role that he wouldn't get necessarily in Philly's offense these days. He's got it in the desert with the Cardinals, and it's a good spot. It's a good spot for Zach Ertz, no doubt about it.
Agreed. Now let's get into Jalen Hurts. What have you seen from Jalen Hurts this the first 4 games that scares you coming into this matchup?
I mean, what scares me specifically in this matchup is still what scares everybody, and his ability to make plays with his legs. Like and that's with that he's grown so much as a passer. I got to see him. I think it might have been his second start, maybe even his first. I think it was his second start.
His second
Uh,
start, yeah. When we play the Cardinals.
yeah, it was just a great back and forth
Yeah.
shootout game between those two teams, and he put over 300 yards. But like where teams like can really kill the Cardinals is making big plays on third down, and if he does it with his arm or his legs, that's just devastating to this defense that can get gassed early. They don't have a lot of depth. They have trouble kind of covering guys. So if he can move chains like on third and medium, third and long with his legs or with his arm, that's going to be tough for the Cardinals on defense. And he's developed so much more. And I talked to the defensive coordinator Vance Joseph for the Cardinals earlier
Mm-hmm.
this week, and he knows they're well aware of the maturation and development that's happened between the last time they saw him and now. So he's a weapon in itself. And then you got to deal with all the other issues like Miles Sanders and AJ Brown and Goddard and Devontae Smith. It's embarrassment of
Yeah.
riches, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I think the Cardinals will be in good shape as far as defense wise because they practice against kind of like a similar guy, of their own, and Kyler Murray. So do you think that your defense is well equipped to handle, a Jalen Hurts to try to keep him within the pocket? Like if you're the coach, if you're the defensive coach, would you want Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm or with his legs? Because we saw Washington try to do that. The Vikings and Washington try to keep him inside the pocket, back
Yeah.
to back 300 yards throwing. And we saw the first game with the Detroit and last game where team were blitzing and he was just using his legs to get him out of trouble. So like, what would you rather have? I know it's just like, but I don't
Yeah.
know. So if you're the Cardinals, what you preparing for?
I think that you want to be able to kind of neutralize to an extent. You're not going to fully shut it down, but just Hurts and Miles Sanders in the run game, and don't allow Philly to be as balanced on offense. Like don't
Right.
allow them to set up the pass with the run and set up second, third, and manageable, and because that's where you get in trouble, and that's where he's really going to get comfortable. And I know it's like it's crazy when you see teams like Washington in Jacksonville and they pick their poison right, and sometimes they get roasted by it. And I think the Cardinals their defense is based on creating negative plays, and sometimes they'll accept that they're going to give up some big plays with that. So, but if they can force some three and outs, if they can get the defense or the Philly offense off the field, they'll take that with a win. I don't think they expect that they're going to shut Philly out by any stretch. But if they can maybe get their hands on a ball, maybe a pick, and if they can force, some punts that they feel like, okay, at some point our offense is going to show up. And, as far as consistent sides of the ball, actually, despite their starts of the season where they surrendered 44 points to KC, the defense
Mhm.
has been something that's kind of come along the last couple of weeks. And it was really impressive last week, but, Baker Mayfield and the Carolina, the offense kind of sucks, to be honest with you. But, they shut down the Vegas Raiders in the second half, only 3 points between the second half and overtime. They have enough playmakers, I think, like matchup wise, where they're different than other teams is like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, a pair of linebackers,
Mhm.
who are polarizing guys. Like this fan base wants to see more from these guys. Their speed, their athleticism can match up with a guy like Hurts. Like they not necessarily like where they're gonna make a play every time,
Yeah.
but if they need to chase down Hurts, if they need to cut off a corner, they've got the speed to do so. But look, they also have to be able to just survive each and every play and be in the right spot at the right time, which is the biggest issue with those guys. And then I like the safety play too, like Buda Baker.
Buda
You guys,
Baker.
you
Yes, my
guys love.
guy.
You guys had your, Brian Dawkins. He has some
Yeah,
great safeties in your
absolutely.
day. Buda Baker is one of those guys. I mean, he's not. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer yet, but he's a fun player to watch. He's fired out like a missile
Yeah.
and makes tackles all over the field. And Jalen Thompson, his safety mate there, is solid too. 100 tackles last year, three picks. He sometimes will get into the backfield. So it's going to be interesting to see how they attack Jalen Hurts, if they bring the pressure or if they drop everybody and play a little zone. I don't know. It's really going to be fascinating come Sunday.
So, do you think that they might have a spy on Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I think they will. I don't think they want him to be able to get out and just run and make huge plays, and then beat him with their arm too, his arm later, and set that
Yeah.
up. So I think that they've got the personnel to do so. I mean, I still think he's going to make plays. That's just inevitable, but can they limit it? Yeah, I think they have the guys to do so.
So on the Eagles side, on the offensive side, Mariota, we know that he's probably not going to play. But on the Cardinals defensive line, how is J.J. Watt, Zach Allen, and company? I mean, like throughout the first 4 games so far, has it been bringing the pressure? Have they bring just a 4-man front? Like, I mean, how has that front been?
Well, they brought pressure on Mahomes, and they got absolutely just roasted for it. But Mahomes does that, right?
Yeah,
As far as,
absolutely.
and they JC, they had a big problem, like personnel wise, like covering guys. They didn't have a healthy cornerback group where they're getting a little bit healthier, and they've got NFL caliber corners, not like elite guys, not like a
Hmm.
Darius Slay, but they've got guys that can hold their own and get some passes defensed and break up passes and all that. But they didn't have that the first couple of weeks, and now they do, and that helps. As far as the two guys you mentioned, Zach Allen, J.J. Watt, that's where the pressure is coming from, right? And the
Yeah.
fact that if your left tackle's hurt, that's not the worst thing, because it's not the pressure coming off the edge, the interior. That's where they're getting it. And as far as Zach Allen, he was a beast against Carolina. 3 passes defense. He looked like
Oh,
heyday Watt, just knocking balls down at the line,
I
and then
saw
also getting
that.
back. Yeah, I mean, and then JJ is still doing the same thing. He's not racking up the sacks like he used to, but he's still swatting balls down. He's still beating guys off the line of scrimmage and being as physical as ever. And he's only playing like 65% of the snaps and stuff like that. But if they want to have success, if Arizona wants to kind of shock some people, they've got to finally get some pressure off the edge. They've got to have guys like Marcus Golden, who you guys are aware of his Giants
Mhm.
days. Can he maybe get home once or twice and get some production out of that? Because you're going to get it from JJ and Zach Allen. It's a little bit tougher matchup for them this week with Philly's offensive line, because you can't. I mean, they're so solid, and
Yeah.
maybe the only weak spot is that left tackle position. So we'll see if Vance Joseph maybe brings the pressure on that area. He's pretty good at that sometimes, and it might come from an exotic look.
Okay. So Hassan Reddick, of course, he came from the Cardinals, went to the Panthers, and now he is a Philadelphia Eagle. He's coming back home. He came back home, and so
Yeah.
far he is probably one of the best edge rushers, in the league. So how strong is the Cardinals offensive line, and are they ready to combat with this Eagles defensive line? Like you mentioned, a Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Jordan
Yeah.
Davis, Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham. He looked like, man, he's 25 years old again. Josh Sweat. I mean, and the Eagles so far have been getting to the quarterback without blitzing. This
Right.
like these exotic cover one, fake cover one looks and then drop everybody back is really, really working out. So, how is your offensive line? I don't know how many sacks they gave up. So, just tell me a little bit about your offensive line. How strong are these players?
I mean, when you look at like the normal statistics, 6 sacks on 176 pressure or dropbacks, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray hasn't been sacked that much through 4 games, and that's solid. You look at the pressure rate; it's not too bad. I think that what this offensive line brings is, even with starting center out, they've got 4 of their 5 starters in there, right? And uh, Rodney Hudson, who used to be a perennial Pro Bowler at the center position, he's taken a few steps back. So how much are you going to miss them? I think it's not great. It's not ideal. But they've faced Chris Jones. They've faced Aaron Donald. They face him twice a year. So they're not new to facing a
Yeah.
beast up front with Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox. But it's still, I wouldn't say it's a strength. I still think that there's going to be a series or two that is going to be ruined by just that stout front seven and those pass rushers. And Hassan Reddick versus DJ Humphries. I'm looking at that matchup. The Cardinals left tackle. If they're ever pressuring Reddick off the edge, I think that Hump has had a good comeback year. If he gets matched up on the right side for Kelvin Beachum, that might be where he eats. But Hassan Reddick is like, talk about fumble in that one. that they did. As far as drafting him, playing him out of position, 3 defensive coordinators in his first 3 years. They don't pick up his 5th-year option. His 4th and final year, they put him in the right spot, the position he's playing now, and he thrives. And then he goes and gets a pretty, not a crazy deal with Carolina. He reunites with his college coach, and then he goes home. It's just one of those. It's like Cardinals screwed it up, and they just kind of have to live with the fact that he's at home and he's making plays, and you could have probably figured out a way, like in a different past, a different future where he's wearing a Cardinals uniform. But now, that ship sailed a long time ago, unfortunately.
So do you see him possibly getting us 1 sack, 2
Yeah.
sack,
Oh,
3
yeah.
sack, 4
I think JC, he did it last year. Like, he opened up the game and just absolutely, when he was in Carolina, he forced a fumble, and he made his presence known very early, and he's got that ability. I think that Humphreys is their best option. They might want to help a little bit with wherever Reddick's coming from, but like as you pointed out, they're not even doing any. They haven't dialed any blitzes up. This might be the game that they do so, and it's going to be, they're going to need a Herculean effort from their offensive line and everybody to keep Kyler Murray upright enough to make plays. But I think if there is a path where they can, but it would just take guys, outplaying what the expectation is.
Absolutely. I think this is a perfect game to send the blitz because you don't want Kyler Murray to stand back there. Number one, you don't want him to have him all day back there. And 2, you don't want him to escape the pocket. So if I'm Jonathan Gannon, look, I'm making sure that Graham and Sweat, Hassan Reddick come on the outside, trying to keep them in, just like y'all probably would do with Jalen Hurts, and send the pressure right up the middle. And Kyler Murray, he's not that tall. So, if you bring pressure up the middle a lot, even Tom Brady hate when pressure come up in his face, and he's a little bit taller than Kyler Murray. So, but still, he still hates it. So, like, nobody loves to get pressure up the middle. So, but definitely, I think this is a game for it. But will it happen? If he ain't broke, don't fix it. And so far, we haven't been, bringing in that much pressure. And we got 9-second Carson Wentz because he holds the ball too long. So I don't know how long does Kyler Murray, because the couple games that I watched, he does hold the ball a little bit longer, but he's moving around with it so fast. So I don't know his quickness, his release time, but he definitely cannot afford to hold on to the ball that long, or else he's going to be on his back. So let's get to the keys of victory. 3 keys to victory. If the Cardinals should win this game, what are some keys that they have to do and do it well?
They have to slow down the run game of Philly. Like, Miles Sanders can't go off. A guy who averages over 5 yards per carry in his career. They've got to bottle him up potentially and make him one-dimensional offensively, which is picking a poison, no doubt about it, because Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and the developed arm and precision passing of Jalen Hurts is there. So I think, to be able to take the run game out would help and put them maybe in some undesirable 3rd down situations, and they'd have to go make a play. And sometimes that just doesn't happen when you're going up against NFL caliber players on defense. Another key would be obviously protection of Kyler Murray. And then I think like the biggest key to victory for the Cardinals against Philly is finally getting off to that fast start, finally finding their way, offensively and avoiding this game. And I think this goes for both sides, man, is kicking, is the kick game. Like, both teams have backup kickers in there, guys that just signed off the streets. Madden Amendola versus Michael Dicker, the kicker. It's like, you don't want to be put in a situation where you're standing down a 40-yard field goal from a basically unknown commodity. Like, is he going to come up clutch? I don't know. I wouldn't want to have my anything riding on that.
So do you think the Cardinals will go for 2-point conversions a lot this upcoming Sunday, or
they trust them from 33 for like PATs? I think once it's just going to come down, like, they're an aggressive team. Like, these are some of the 2 most aggressive teams already.
Absolutely.
Like, as far as most 4th downs gone for, like, they're like new school coaches, and they like to do that, and they follow the analytics that prove that.
Yeah, so, analytics.
Yeah, I think that they'll probably, but if they're staring like a 4th and 5 on their own 45, and I'm sorry, on the opponent's 45 or close to midfield, they might go for it, right?
Yeah.
If they're on the 40, I think that they start to maybe look at where they truly trust a guy like Amendola and on Philly's side, Dicker.
Mhm.
How far did they trust these guys, to put it through?
So, all right. So before we wrap up, who wins? What is your score prediction, and what is your gut feeling telling you about this game?
I mean, it's like my gut is getting its signals to my heart, and then my head is so far off. I'm telling it different, like whoa, 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 like nothing this Cardinals team has shown through 4 games tells me that they have any business beating Philly at this point. I think that the talent right now for Philly, across the board. I was looking at some matchups. I think the only case you can truly argue is the quarterback position. And then like running back, Philly. Wide receivers, probably Philly. Tight end, Goddard gets the edge, just a little bit younger legs, big playability over Ertz,
Mhm.
steadiness. Offensive line, Philly. Defensive line, Philly. Linebackers, Philly.
Golly.
And then the defensive secondary. I mean, it's maybe the only place the Cardinals win is the safety play, and then you can look at what special teams you prefer. But it's going to take the
The
Cardinals.
Cardinals special teams,
Yeah,
definitely. Because
they're going to
Philly's
have to.
special teams
Oh,
got
they
it.
don't. Well, I mean, the Cardinals they can make some plays on teams. They invest in that spot. So that could be something. A big play on
Mhm.
special teams could turn this game and keep them, alive. Otherwise, when they wouldn't be, I think it's tight. I think that the Cardinals probably. I'm going to go with Philly in a when I think they cover the points. If you're giving me 5 points for the home team, I'll take them.
Yeah.
But I think Philly probably wins. Like, let's keep the kickers out of it. So like 28-21. Or no, I'm sorry,
28-21.
20-24. 28-24. Sorry.
28-24. Wow. That's
Yeah.
look, that's pretty good game. Look.
Right.
So I'm going like I don't know if I'm gonna make you feel a little bit better, but to me, all right, so I think that the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a perfect trap game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like we was talking a backstage before we came on. Last week, the Philadelphia Eagles trailed for the first time, 14-0. Well, not the first time ever, because they did try the first time against the Lions, but it was only 7-0. But they went down 14-0, bad weather, a pick six right off the bat, and then run down our throats. And we came back from that. Dougie P coming back home, emotional. I mean, it was a game to remember for him. And, we got the win. Next week, we got the Dallas Cowboys, even content creators. I mean, we talking about the Cardinals. All of a sudden, you hear we're gonna play Dallas next week. I mean, I'm not saying that this team is not focused, but next
Yeah.
Sunday night, all black, biggest game, revenge game. Dallas Cowboys whooped our ass last year twice on national TV. Monday Night Massacre. We can't wait for that. And then we got the Cardinals dead smack in the middle. A dual threat, a true dual threat quarterback. I mean, Philly have never faced one like this before this season, and possibly not going to face one again throughout the rest of the season. So it's a lot of variables working. So I think facing a dual threat quarterback, keeping the chains moving, tying your defense out. If they can't get to Kyler Murray, if they can't stop Kyler Murray, if Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts are the exact dual threat quarterback, it's going to be a long day for both defenses. Both defenses is going to be tired. And I feel like that the Cardinals squeak one out. I had the Cardinals winning this game 24-21. Like you said, the Eagles had the better roster from top to bottom. Mind the special teams, whatever. But I'm not saying that we're not talented, but the Eagles are not going to go 17-0. This might be the perfect game right here to give them a dose of reality. Hey, y'all good, but there's always things you could improve on, especially facing a dual threat quarterback like this. And I think the Eagles take their first L 24-21. And I will be happy to eat anything y'all want me to eat. Crow, horse manure. I don't care what it is. If I'm wrong, I'm good. I'll be happy. That's my team. I want them to win. But 17-0 is a long ways away, and I don't think that they're gonna go undefeated, especially with next week being a big game. So, but yeah, I think the Cardinals, this might be a big win for them, a good team win, all three phases of the game, and the squeak went off. So 24-21 Cardinals. I know I've been getting some hate from Eagles fans, but look, it is what it is, man. I got to keep it 100 with them all the time. So it's what it is. Oh, look. Oh, boy. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, so that's how I feel. And we'll see if I'm wrong. If I'm right, hey, it is what it is. But if I'm wrong, I'll be happy that I'm wrong.
Sure.
I'm already got everything ready to go. My apologies. I'm sorry, Eagle fans, but I had to pick it. So I already got my apology letter ready, but it's the NFL and any given Sunday, so we never know. But Bo, look, thank you very much for coming on here. You were truly an amazing guest on this show. Before you go, let them know where they could find you at and what other stuff you have working on.
Yeah, you can find me PHNX Sports on YouTube. We have our daily show. We're talking cards every afternoon. If you're looking for something to watch later on the east side, it's at 7 your time. So PHNX Sports on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at PHNX_Cardinals and follow me at Bo Brack on Twitter. Appreciate anybody who follows along with the coverage. Just having fun talking some ball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And as always, man, please make sure y'all hit that like button for me. I know I said some things to hurt y'all feelings, but it's okay. It's all love. It's a long season. We still got 13 games left. It's all love. Hit that like button for me. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button because every week we're going to try to bring you the hottest, guests on this show. And as always, man, you know how we do. Go Birds, beat the Cards.